Hello everybody, welcome back to Stink King Sports. I am your host, Nicholas Stink King, and today we have my list on what every AFC team needs to pick up this offseason in free agency or the draft based on the 2020 NFL roster, just like my NFC list, just 16 different teams. Let's start off with the AFC North and the Baltimore Ravens with possibly the most obvious pick on this list, which is a number one wide receiver. Marquise Brown is straightforward, just not getting it done. Miles Boykin has not panned out, and Dez Bryant is no answer whatsoever. If you want to maximize Lamar Jackson and his potential as a quarterback in the NFL and use his skill set to the fullest, you need to get him a reliable number one receiver, draw some attention away from the run game, some attention away from Mark Andrews, give him some separation, give him some time to throw the ball deep, throw the ball even underneath as well, because the Ravens receiving corps was so lackluster this year. It was the weakest part of their team, and that's just what they need to improve on. It is a big, gleaming issue in the organization, so Ravens, I'm going with wide receiver. Moving on to the Bengals, I want offensive line. They have the 32nd ranked offensive line in the NFL, matched with a young quarterback who needs to develop. Oh, and by the way, is also coming off an ACL tear. Come on, if you want to help Joe Burrow succeed, you need to get him an offensive line. He can't be running for his life back there. That means 32nd in the league is unacceptable. You work on your offensive line, Cincy. Work on the offensive line. Next, I have the Browns. I say secondary, especially cornerbacks. Yes, the Browns are arguably a top 5 offensive roster. Offensive. Defensively, it's a different story, especially in regards to the secondary. The lackluster play of their secondary has been gleaming throughout the 2020 season. Yes, they have a young star in Denzel Ward. Behind him, however, you're rocking with Trayvon Young and Robert Jackson. With almost 4,000 yards amassed last year by the Browns in a division featuring the Ravens, who had the least amount of pass yards in the NFL, and the Bengals, who had backup quarterbacks dashing around all year, and the Steelers, who, let's be honest, Big Ben faded towards the end of the year, and you still let up almost 4,000 yards. I mean, their secondary needs work, and it was the only thing limiting them from an AFC Championship berth, and it's really the only thing limiting them from AFC Championship contenders. Overall, though, I think the Browns really need to work on that secondary. The Steelers, I say running back. The Steelers under Mike Tomlin have been notorious for being a strong, hard-nosed team that relies heavily on the run game. However, in 2020, the Steelers had the worst rushing offense in the NFL, with 3.6 yards per carry and under 1,400 yards combined. With an aging Big Ben, who will be returning to Pittsburgh, there is a need for some offensive burden to be taken off of him. Without the run game, we see how the Steelers struggled late in the year, and with that defense and that young receiving core, running game would elevate their standing in the AFC Super Bowl contention beyond belief. They need a running game. They need to get back to that hard-nosed football what they have with Le'Veon Bell, and I think it's the only thing limiting them from NFC North favorites and possibly AFC championship contenders. The AFC East, I have the Buffalo Bills getting some defensive help. They don't right now have the manpower, in my opinion, to stop the Kansas City Chiefs, who are still the top dog in the AFC. We saw that, I believe, in the AFC Championship game. They were unable to stop them, offensively passing. They were up, by 2 possessions, and they just let them run all over them for the remainder of the game. In my opinion, they need to really work on the defensive line and even linebacker depth to a degree. Yes, you could say they're linebackers, strongest part of their defense, but the depth of it, really lackluster. Yes, they have Milano, they have Edmonds, but behind them, who do you have? They need to have a greater depth in the linebacker position, because when those guys are on the field, it's a hot mess in that area of the defense. I am satisfied with their secondary, however. They seem to get absolutely no pressure on the quarterback, though, and it's very disappointing because I had high hopes, like top 5 hopes for this defense. They need to be able to put pressure on the quarterback just like the Bucs did in the Super Bowl against Mahomes. They need to control the front lines, and overall, they need to get the defensive manpower to stop the Chiefs. That's what they're aiming for right now, stop the Chiefs. And right now, they don't have it. But if they get that defense, they get the defensive line, they get the pressure on Mahomes, they are there. They are there. Next, I have the New York Jets. Anything. I don't think the Jets can really make a wrong move. I know this seems really lazy, but it's true. The 32nd ranked offense in the NFL, 32nd ranked offense, 31st ranked offensive line, 26th ranked defense. Anything could help here. Anything. I would personally start with developing the defense because I truly believe defense wins championships, and it is very difficult to win a championship in this league. I'd say 90% of the time without a good defense. You need a good defense 90% of the time to win a championship. Now, let's be honest, the Jets are nowhere near championship contenders, but if they can build on a young defense, get some young players, get some veterans, grow them up, if they can build on that in like 4 years, they could be contending in the AFC East. It's straight up like that. Build up the front seven, be able to control the trenches. But honestly, nothing here hurts at all. Nothing at all. The Jets were horrible. Patriots, I'm going quarterback. Cam Newton's not the answer. If you're looking for a 7-9 season, go get Cam Newton. But Cam Newton was atrocious behind center for the Patriots last season. And he is not going to be a long-term option or likely show a vast amount of improvement. Obviously, I know he got re-signed. I don't care. I don't believe in Cam. And you should at least go get somebody in the draft or someone in free agency for Cam to even mentor. I don't know. But make use of that waste of money of that waste of money at least. 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions does not scream playoffs. It doesn't. 8 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I'd rather have Sam Darnold. Dolphins. Wide receiver. The Dolphins need to see what they have with Tua Tagovailoa, and just like Jalen Hurts, to maximize his potential, to maximize maximize his potential, maximize his talent, and to give him the best opportunity to succeed and show off his talents. You need to get him another wide receiver. It would be nice just to stack him up with another satisfactory pair of hands to help him just really climb as a player and match with Devontae Parker. If that proves to be difficult, however, offensive line is always welcome, especially because they were 26th in the NFL. The AFC South, I have the Colts. They need a wide receiver. In order to maximize the offense in Indianapolis, a great asset to acquire would be another wide receiver. At times this year, the Colts' offensive wide receiving core just seemed to be able to lack the ability to gain separation and overall struggled sometimes to come down with contested catches, and they just seem lackluster at best. I feel like the threat of an elite wide receiver or just a very good wide receiver that could get some sort of separation or just some sort of jump on the defense, draw some attention away from somebody, would make their offense far more lethal, far more dangerous, and really pair well against that elite top 3 defense. The Titans, I want defense. It does not matter what position, but preferably defensive line. We saw many times here how their defense would dig themselves into 2 possession totals in the first half, and their defense as a whole ranked 24th in the league. I think secondary wouldn't hurt as well. I think safety is perfectly fine. You have Kevin Byard. I think he's an absolute freak. But defensive line-wise and linebackers, I think you need to be able to stop that run, get some more pressure on the quarterback. A secondary I don't think was too horrible this year. So all in all, Titans, I'm going defense. Jaguars quarterback. Minshew's not the answer. Listen, love Minshew Mania. He's a funny dude. But they need to find their franchise quarterback, their future quarterback to build around. A lot needs to be done in Jacksonville, and it starts with the most important position on the field, in my opinion, which is quarterback. So all in all, I think it's very simple. Jaguars need to get quarterback. I think we all know who the Jaguars are going to get. Next, I have the Texans, and I think they need a rushing defense. They had the most rushing yards allowed in the league with over 2,500. It is their biggest gap right now. It is the biggest priority to address. And if you want to establish some sort of winning culture, you need to be able to control the trenches, stop the run, control the line. It really starts you control the line. You can control field position at times. I mean, it's just it's so key. 2,500 yards is no joke. It is no joke. I mean, the Texans really desperately need to work on this. They allowed over 100 yards a game. It's just over 100. And it was atrocious. It really was. It was a horrible display. If they want to get back to that winning culture in Houston, if they're going to keep Deshaun Watson, man, you better get a defense to stop the ball because he can't do all the work. He really needs a lot of help around him. He has nothing right now. But it starts with the defense. Defense wins championships. Get him a front seven. Get him a rushing defense. Finally, the AFC West. Chiefs. Offensive line. We saw the Super Bowl. Mahomes got no help offensive line-wise. O-line help or just depth in general is needed because, yes, they had backups playing. But if you have some depth, at least you don't get absolutely embarrassed like that on national television. Next, we have the Broncos. Besides Von Miller, the Broncos' defense is far less intimidating and strong as before. As a result, you need linebackers. Their defense finished 28th in the league, and in my opinion, the middle linebacker position is the weakest part of their team. They need improvement to be able to stop the run, plug the gaps, go into late blitzes, cover the middle in zones. They had nothing like that. If you look at their linebacking roster, it is weak. It is so weak. Besides Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, you could count as an outside linebacker. I count him more as a defensive end. But alas, you have no middle linebackers anymore in Denver, and you need to get a field general middle linebacker like that just to control the pocket of the field. I think it would assist their defense very well. I think they have some decent playmakers in the secondary, but overall, I think they need linebackers right now. I think that's their biggest need. Chargers offensive line, similar to the Bengals reasoning here. They had a 29th ranked offensive line in the league, and if they want to protect their young quarterback, they need to build up an offensive line, make sure he does not get hurt, give him the best chance to develop in the pocket. I think it's pretty straightforward, just like I said with the Bengals. So moving on to our final team, the Las Vegas, sometimes I forget, Raiders. Edge rusher is what they need most, in my opinion. They only got 28 sacks on the season, and they don't have an elite pass rusher. They need to get the help of somebody who can have the opposing team game plan against him, assist the secondary by providing pressure, not having them hunt out there for 4 seconds, 5 seconds, maybe only 3 or 2, and just get pressure on the face of the quarterback, be real menacing, man down the trenches. I think you really need an edge rusher because 28 sacks for the Raiders under a John Gruden defenses, I don't like it all. So all in all, I believe that the Raiders need an edge rusher, and that is all I have for you today, folks. Tomorrow, I will be coming out with my March Madness bracket. It's going to be a really fast video. Just going to be going over my teams, bam, bam, bam. But overall, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Please tell me if you're in AFC, if your team is in the AFC, who do you think they should pick up in free agency? What position? What player specifically, if you've got one? And I'm out. Peace.